Today I want to give you a little overview of the touch gestures in the app LumaFusion, which is a video editor for the iPad created by LumaTouch. It's interesting how powerful iPad apps have become these days. However, one drawback you have when working on an iPad is that your screen is a bit smaller. That means the app can only show you limited information and you need to discover other controls by yourself. This is not a full tutorial of LumaFusion. I will just go over the existing touch gestures. Because iPad apps have limited screen real estate, there's not much space to put text on controls or to explain how to use the app. So you rely more heavily on knowing which touch controls are supported and also which keyboard shortcuts you can use in the app. In order to discover the keyboard shortcuts, you can simply hold down the Command key on your keyboard and it will show up the supported keyboard shortcut of a specific app. So this is super useful, and this is kind of a replacement of the menu bar that you might be used to on the Mac. The other thing that developers do to make the app more usable is to include a help menu. If you tap and hold this cog with a question mark, it brings up an overlay of what all the different icons and control means. This is already super useful to get an overview of what the app can do, but it doesn't explain you all the touch controls that are supported in the app. So I wanted to go over that. When you're in the project manager, you can select a project to get a preview. You can scrub through it to get an overview. And if you click on it again, you will get into the timeline view for this specific project. The basic structure of LumaFusion relies on a 3-pane overview. On the top left, you have the library. On the top right, you have the preview. And along the bottom, you have the timeline. You can also change this setup to see one of the panes more prominently. In the timeline, you can scrub to get an overview of your project that you're working on. You can also pinch to zoom in close on a clip to get a better overview of which clips you've cut together. Then in the preview pane, you can simply tap it to play, tap it again to pause. You can also double tap the preview to go in full screen to kind of get a better overview of what you've worked on until now. Double tap again to get out of this menu. When you tap and hold the play button, you also get a scrubber overview, which allows you to go frame by frame through your project, or also go at a multiple speed through your project. For instance, here I go 4x backwards. You can also use the jump buttons to jump between your different clips on the timeline. If you tap and hold the jump buttons, it will go slowly frame by frame through your project. If you double tap the jump buttons, you will either go to the end or to the very beginning of your project. Back to the timeline. If you double click the timeline on the gray area, you get an overview of all your project. If you double tap again, it will go back to the previous zoom level. If you triple click on the timeline, you will zoom into the frame level of your project. So you can go frame by frame through your footage. If you triple click, you will get back to your previous zoom level. Another thing that's interesting to note is that your blue play bar will turn into a white frame selector once you zoomed in to the frame level. You can also use one finger to swipe left or right to go frame by frame through your timeline. This also works at any zoom level that you're at. Now focusing on the library pane, if you pull down, it will refresh. If you tap on a clip in the library pane, it will show up in your preview. And now with 2 fingers, you can select the previous clips or the next clips. If you use the multi-select button, you can also select multiple clips. If you swipe horizontally, you can also select clips like this. If you have selected a clip, you can use one finger to swipe through the mini timeline to scrub through the clip. You can also adjust the in and out points by grabbing the yellow handles. You can set your in and out point. You can also drag the double-sided arrow to move the selected clip left or right. Similarly, you can also use touch control to perform these actions. You can put your playhead at a desired position, then swipe down, and it will put the in point here. And then if we find the desired out position, we swipe up to set the out point. You can use the jump buttons to jump between in and out points, markers, and the beginning and end of the video. You can also double tap to get quickly to the beginning and end of the clip. You can also tap and hold the play button to quickly skim through your footage. If you double click the play button, it will loop through the selected clip so that you can make sure that you selected the correct in and out point. Once you're happy with your selection, you can tap and hold the preview and drag it either in between clips on your timeline or even on a separate track. In order to edit the clip that you have added to the timeline, you click on it, you click the edit button, and in the frame and fit overview, you can grab the blue anchor points to resize it, reposition it, reshape it, even rotate it. Similarly, if we go into the cropping submenu, we can crop it, move the crop area around, and resize the crop area. And that was all for today. I hope you learned something and you got a good overview of the touch controls in LumaFusion. It's a really powerful video editing app at a very cheap price. And I'm also excited to see it come to the new Macs with Apple Silicon, with the M1 chip. We'll be excited to see how fast it will run on there. That's all for today.